Angela Rayner resigns, Peter Mandelson sacked, a Trump visit on the horizon. Is Keir Starmer in trouble? Welcome to Bridge the Channel. We used to say that Keir Starmer is a very mediocre Prime Minister in domestic affairs, but a very good Prime Minister in foreign policy. 1 year into his rule, he had actually managed to position the UK as a very strong player in the transatlantic partnership, leading the response to Ukraine and improving relations with the EU. But will he still be able to continue being a good foreign policy Prime Minister as well? Because a domestic political crisis in his government and his party is starting to spill over into the field of foreign policy. Keir Starmer saw the number two in his party and his government, Angela Rayner, resigning over financial improprieties. This led to a reshuffle where he had to move David Lammy from the post of Foreign Secretary and replace him with Yvette Cooper. Even more significantly, just a few days later, he also dismissed Peter Mandelson as the UK ambassador in Washington, D.C. Now, you cannot have a domestic crisis without foreign policy repercussions, and you cannot have a foreign policy crisis without domestic repercussions. Keir Starmer now may be facing a perfect storm. A prime minister who was seen as one of his few redeeming features being an effective foreign policy operator may actually be losing one of the few cards he has to play. And this adds, of course, to the pile of domestic problems he is currently facing. Losing both the number two of his party and his government, and also his ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson, a person who tried to claim the role of the privileged British interlocutor to Donald Trump, a role coveted very much by Nigel Farage, means that perhaps what we're seeing right now is another step in what many people here in Westminster are thinking is the process that has made Reform UK and Nigel Farage not just the de facto official opposition, but perhaps also a government in waiting. Losing Peter Mandelson is emblematic for what Keir Starmer has always tried to show, that a respectable, centrist, pragmatic Labour Party is the last thing standing from Reform UK and Nigel Farage taking power here in Westminster. We're still 4 years away from the next election, but we may be seeing very, very early steps of this project crumbling. Keir Starmer is in dire need of finding new ideas and new people to keep his project going. And for the EU, it may now be time to start thinking about a formerly unthinkable prospect in the coming years: the UK being run by a party of the far right. This was another episode of Bridge the Channel, the first episode after the summer, and the first episode of what promised to be loads of episodes covering the unraveling of a crisis of British governance. Keir Starmer has loads of foreign policy riddles ahead of him. He has to deal with the impending visit of Donald Trump to the UK. He also has to deal with his own announced intention to recognize a Palestinian state. So many of those foreign policy issues interject with a lot of the internal politics of the Labour Party and the internal struggle between the centre and the left wing of the party. Lots of problems for Keir Starmer, and of course we're going to be here to cover all of this for you. Until next time, take care.